Hello and good morning to our listeners from all around the world. I want to welcome you to another edition of This Morning with Soulivity, broadcasting live from our studio right here in Washington, D.C., the nation's capital, as well as KMET 1490 AM radio in Southern California. My name is Brian Wesley Johnson. Of course, I'm so glad you are here. We got a great show for you. I'm joined by some very special guests, Sheila Applegate and Candice Harper. Good morning to both of you.
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
How has this week been for both of you?
I mean, me personally, I feel like I've had a super productive week. I have like this crazy coach who you know, cracks the whip. And so I've been super productive and feeling good. And I'm loving that it's the three of us again, like on Tuesdays. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tammy was off today. She's taking care of her beautiful daughter. They're doing college tours, so that's
yeah,
always exciting. I told her to take plenty of pictures,
yeah,
so that we can,
definitely.
show
That's
them
an
off.
exciting time.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Listen, before we begin, everybody, again, we want to remind you that you are part of this conversation. Um, we want your questions, your thoughts, your comments. If you're watching us live on either Facebook or YouTube, just post directly to the chat and, let us know what you're thinking about. Also, if you are in a different country, or even if you're here, let us know where you're listening from. We want to do a shout out to you because, again, you are part of this conversation. Ladies, there's been something happening in the world for the last, I'd say, almost 30 days. There's been some rumblings going on, and it has to do with a story about last month's Real Time with Bill Maher. There's he does a new rule segment at the end of his shows talking about, basically it's kind of like his opinion piece at the end
Mhm.
of his show. And the Wrap had an article on it because Bill Maher basically took on being woke. And the story reads, Bill Maher is concerned that the woke revolution isn't looking at the big picture of how it could all play out in history, saying that the movement needs to study the part of revolutions where they spin out of control because the revolutionaries get so drunk on their own purifying elixir, they imagine that they reinvent the very nature of human beings. He goes on to say, the problem with communism, because he's now making a connection between communism and wokeism. The problem with communism and with some very recent ideologies here at home is that they think you can change reality by screaming at it, that you can bend human nature by holding your breath. But that's the difference between reality and your mommy. He said
Mm.
Lincoln once said that you can repeal all past history, but you still cannot repeal human nature. But he's canceled now.
Wow.
Woo! So today we're going to be talking about being woke, and we're calling this a dummy's guide to using this phrase properly.
Mhm.
There's reasons for I'm doing that, but I want to get I want to get both of your reaction to what Bill Maher said in your own words. And Sheila, I'll go to you first.
I feel like my brain is kind of scrambled after listening to it because I don't even know that I understand what he's saying. It's like he put a bunch of words together to trigger people. And I honestly don't know which woke people he's talking to because the people that use the word woke most are the ones that are against being aware of things.
Hmm. Hmm.
And
Hmm.
yeah, so and I just feel like it's a limiting thought, and I don't even understand why he wanted to write that or say it.
What about you,
There you
Ken?
Right. Yeah. But it also has a lot to do with, what he's making it mean, because there's two things that I feel like there's this thing where, human nature. So we can look at human nature and say that human nature is just human nature, and that means that forever we stay stuck in our
Mhm.
discrimination, we stay stuck in our ignorance, we stay stuck where we are, right? And it sounds like he's
Right.
coming from a point of view that that because of human nature, that there is no, that idea that there can be evolution is just a silly idea that new generations come up with, but that completely discounts the fact that if we're not awake to things and exploring knowledge, we don't
Right.
grow
Right.
as a human
Right.
race.
Right.
So you can't, oh, our human nature is to be divisive with each other. So forget about your, being awake to anything. And I think what he's trying to make woke mean is actually something to serve his own interest, which is to stay relevant as a talk show host.
Right. And
Very
I
true.
and
Now
I
I
think
understand.
yeah, and we'll talk about a little bit later about like how this is being misused. But Candy, I think you just nailed it. I think that the term has been co-opted.
Yeah.
It is based, and by the way, everyone, being woke or wokeism and all that is not new. It's
Right.
now been around almost 100 years. It was first used back in the 1930s as part of the American left, or I would say more so, people of color were using this as a term within their communities to signify being aware of our world and the social and racial injustices that were happening in the past and in the present moment.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
that's where it comes from. And so I think millennials have used it now to kind of expand out, where it's about racial injustice, social intolerance, systematic discrimination and injustice. I mean, it goes across the full gambit of, no matter what it is, you need to be aware of this.
Yeah.
And so
Mhm.
it's just, yeah. Do you
Yeah,
guys
'cause
remember? Yeah, go ahead, Candy.
well, I was going to say, you got to think about, because of our nation's history, in order to be uh, uh, discriminated against, in order to be a victim of racism, in order to be a victim of slavery, there has to be an unconsciousness in order to even survive it, right? So, of
Right.
course, white
Right.
people came up with woke because we were waking up to, we don't have to believe the lies of white supremacy anymore.
Right, right,
Mhm.
Right.
exactly.
Yeah.
Um, why is this important? I mean, I want to like kind of talk a little bit about this. I mean, Candy, I think you're kind of starting to pull on that string of
Mm.
why is it important to be woke in the way that historically and in present times it's being used. What do you think?
Well, I think it's important because it speaks to presence,
Mm,
right?
mm,
Mhm.
It is
mm.
so important as human beings that we be present. And my partner Wes made a really good point. He's like, the reason that um, anyone who wants to be in control would disparage you for being awake is because they want you to vote against your own interests. They
Right.
want
Right,
you to be on their agenda.
right,
Mhm.
right,
And if
right,
you want to be able to have autonomy in your community and in your life and in your culture, you want to be able to be explorative and learning and awake to what you're being told, what you're being fed, like the food
right,
that we eat, what you're breathing in. You want to
right,
know what's going on.
right, right.
you know?
Exactly. What about you, Sheila?
Yeah, I agree with you, Candice. To me, it's being awake spiritually, emotionally, and physically. And
Mhm.
consciousness is on all levels, right? And the more conscious we are, the more autonomous we are. And
Yeah.
that's threatening to
Right.
the political system as we have it right now. And
Mm,
it's really sad to me how blatant it is. I mean, it's kind
Right?
of funny, but it's so
yeah.
sad that to watch people be manipulated and knowing that all of our systems, as they are created to keep us ignorant. And then to watch that play out it's kind of sad, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you guys are both. I completely agree with both of you, by the way. Um because I look at this as being woke is a part of being aware,
Mhm.
Mhm.
and you can't battle fear and ignorance in your own life and in your community if you're sleepwalking.
Yeah.
Right.
So you have to be woke. You have to be aware, which is what this is all meaning. I mean, the diversity.social has a great definition of like the defining behavior of those belonging to woke culture in America, and that is that they are active participants in the fight against injustice. That is being woke. You are not putting your head into the sand around your own life, around the lives of others, and saying, well, it doesn't matter, because that historically has been what's been going on in our country.
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, well, my ancestors weren't slave owners.
Yeah.
So that has nothing to do with me. Actually, there's some through lines. You can't make the direct connection back there, but there are other things that happened after that that
Yeah.
your ancestors
Right.
benefited from that connect back to slavery, for instance.
And not
know?
realizing that is part of unconsciousness. Like,
Absolutely.
you want to get woke
Absolutely.
how you're complicit by your own existence. Like, we can be complicit by our own existence and how we navigate that existence.
Right.
Understanding privilege and all of that stuff. Yeah.
I think too that that not being woke allows you to just stay in your ignorance, because reading a book and getting educated awakens you to to a lot of different thought patterns and a lot of history that you don't know. I'm just thinking about what's happening in Florida and other states where like historic figures that were just in our lifetime people who that we aspire to be, right? And now they're like, no, take that out. You don't need to be that person. That's you being too woke now.
Yeah. Like, conscious of your own ability to stand up for yourself and have autonomy and maybe revolt against who might be trying to control you. And here's the thing too, I mean, the unfortunate thing about this country is that capitalistic control, it's like the money is first, right? So you can be bought and sold.
That's the key.
Yeah.
Exactly. Listen, we're going to take a quick pause. Of course, we're staying on this topic today because it's too important for us not to talk about. But we're going to make the turn toward, the reality of being woke and how it's showing up in our lives over, our lifetimes. I mean, there's concrete things that have happened because of people being woke. So we're going to take a quick pause. We're going to pause for about 2 minutes. And when we come back, we'll have more with This Morning with Soulivity. Talk to you soon.
Hi there, Sheila Applegate here with some exciting news. I've joined the incredible Soulivity team as the host of the new Consciously Awesome live show, where I will be sharing insights to help you discover your full brilliance and claim the vibrant life you deserve. So tune in every Wednesday right here on Soulivity TV to join the fun, and remember to subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss a single episode. Have an awesome week, and I will see you on Wednesday.
Have you ever asked the question, if I was to be anything, what would I be? Regardless of money, regardless of status, beyond popularity and fame. Living your passion, feeling your life has purpose. Soulivity is a space to nurture that which lives in all of us. A place where work can become play, and doing what we love creates the dreams of a lifetime.
And we're back with more of This Morning with Soulivity. We are talking about being woke, y'all. And this is our dummies guide to using this phrase properly today. We talked a little bit about what it means to be woke in terms of our own lives and our society, right? Where we're coming into this, where we're aware so that we can change, right? So that we can battle like our own fear, our own ignorance. But let's talk about like, how does this show up? You know, how has this shown up in your own life, Candice?
Well, for one thing, I don't know that I would necessarily identify myself as having reached the destination of woke.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I feel like it's a journey of becoming awakened.
Right.
So, yeah, and I have to own, you know, like as I was growing up, where I grew up was a predominantly white neighborhood, and we went to school with white kids, and we went to church with Black kids, and so my experience of being Black in America and my experience of what discrimination is and all of those things, it was very much in a bubble. So as I've evolved over the years and started to really understand the implications of what my young experience was, and then started to, because of the internet, as I got older, started to really understand what people experience and have gone through, like I find myself constantly growing in evolution of what wokeness is. And I know that there's still so much that I'm not awake to. But, you know, for what is, that is what continues to buoy my interest in knowing what's going on.
Wow.
What I have learned. Yeah.
I love that. I love this idea of being woke is a journey, not a destination. I love that. Sheila, what about you?
Yeah, I agree with the awaken aspect of it, that it is something. Well, I guess to be woke is to know that you always have to be awakening, right? Like to realize, yes, this is a process that I need to be aware of and conscious of in every moment of my life. I think it has to do with self-awareness. That's an important part, knowing yourself, knowing your triggers, and understanding your limiting beliefs, and then opening it up and realizing, to me, it's about knowing how to learn or how to gather information and to put the pieces together to be able to see multiple sides and to then make a conscious decision on your thoughts or actions based on all the levels of understandings that are going into it, right? So and see the big picture, see how it all fits together, and then base your decision knowing that.
You know, I look at how do we get to progress? Well, we get to progress in our own lives through the process of being more aware, being quote unquote continually being woke, especially to our own pain. I mean, that's a big part of this, right? Because I think like when Bill Maher used this on his show and other people who have co-opted this term for control, they're tapping into people's fear of change, right? And so part of this process has to be people moving into that space in a safe way where they're able to deal with whatever is going on inside of them, and battle their fear. And so, you know, I just really, really dislike, I was going to say hate, but I really dislike the fact that something so important in our lives is now a political football now. You know?
And it's not an accident or a coincidence to me that I think
Right.
if I'm correct in what I noticed is, I was using woke about being spiritually conscious and aware of the world. I wasn't even aware of the lineage of that term in the Black community. But I did notice that the flip in it, was around when the Black Lives Matter protests were. And I didn't really put that together until we had been talking earlier this week.
Absolutely. I mean, it again, it got co-opted. There were people who were protesting, basically saying, especially like this was in the wake of Breonna Taylor and George Floyd. But also importantly, Sheila, I think the history of the word being used in a way for racial and social justice, but up underneath that, specifically in the Black community, this idea of perseverance through being aware of the struggle that you're going through today to get through that for a better day, that's always been there. And I look at that as the journey of being woke as well.
Right.
That this term just was born out of a certain spirituality that, listen, we know this is our reality right now. We know we're going through this struggle, but the struggle, won't be that long. I mean, Negro spirituals talk about this, right?
Right.
And so I do think it's spiritual. And I think people forget that part. That's what gives me so much angst about, people co-opting the term in a way to pervert it. Candice, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, because once it's perverted, then I don't necessarily think that it will lose its ability, but we have to be very conscious about what we make things mean, because it really can, shift societies. But also what's coming up for me is I'm thinking about how it, like I was saying about it being a journey, the beginning of the journey is identification and awareness that there is an issue. That's just the beginning.
Right.
And I think sometimes we stop at, I know there's racism. I know that there's disparity. I know there's sexism. I know, that people are being oppressed. I know it. And then we want to sit in the conversation of it. And that's just the start, right? That's just the beginning. I think a big component of wickedness is like, I also know that beyond understanding that something's going on, that now it's who am I within that? Like, how am I part of the change or part of the, solution?
Well, the sisters on The View really took exception to Bill Maher, and they also had some things to say about this term. So we're going to talk about that after the break. Listen, we'll be right back with more of This Morning with Soulivity. Hi there, this is Brian with Soulivity.com. I want to share some exciting news about our new Aspire Academy by Soulivity. Now, you probably want to know what the Aspire Academy by Soulivity is. Well, it exclusively connects you with people around the globe and who share the intense desire to improve themselves and create a better life for themselves today. There's classes, there's workshops, there's live events, and even more exclusively just for you. You see, I wanted you to have a safe space where you could grow, you can learn, and it would empower you in all aspects of your life, including your mind, your body, and your soul. So how do you get started? Well, it is so easy. First of all, the best part, joining Aspire Academy is absolutely free. Just click on the Join Now button, sign up, and begin your journey. As a special part of this invitation to you, there are some free courses that are available for you to try from our amazing roster of coaches and collaborators. It's our way of saying thank you for all of your support
and being with us along our journey of expansion. I hope you enjoyed the Aspire Academy by Soulivity today. Start the process. Learn more about your passion, your purpose, and how to live a higher quality life.
And welcome back to more of This Morning with Soulivity. We are talking about being woke, and this is our dummy's guide to using this phrase properly. We said at the top about Bill Maher's comments about on his show, and the ladies on The View, Sunny Hostin and Whoopi Goldberg, really took exception to that. And so I just want to read just a little bit of what basically Sunny Hostin said, because I think she was really on point. And this comes from thedecider.com. She says, I'd like to address his comment on wokeness. What he's doing is saying that woke has changed. The term woke, if you look it up in Webster's dictionary, and it really is there, is about being aware of social inequity, social injustices, and fighting those, and that's a good thing.
Right.
The term has been co-opted by the right. The term has been co-opted by the far right and the alt-right. And then she goes on to say, that co-opting of the term, and that is to take the power away from Black people who are standing up for what they deserve in this country. I mean, I cannot there. There ain't no lies detected in that.
Yeah.
And
I
not
just
just
want,
Black
yeah,
people.
yes,
People. I think that
yes,
white people who are economically challenged, I think that what they're saying when they co-opt that word is stay asleep so we can continue to control you.
Right. Right.
yes, yes, Candy, yes. I mean, there are so many. I mean, I remember when the fight for the expansion of Medicaid was going on, that was part of Obamacare. And bless his soul, Reverend Barber in North Carolina wanted the expansion to happen because not only of his community, but he knew poor people specifically, all across North Carolina could benefit. And so he was going into rural communities and talking about, listen, there's only one like emergency kind of care unit in 100 miles of where you live. Don't you think that if there was, health insurance or money flowing, that there would be more facilities and more resources available? And so being woke to your situation. But
Yeah.
again, these people don't want those people to know that their interests are diametrically opposed to what these people want them to do. I just, wow. Sheila, what are you thinking about? I mean, this term has just been so co-opted. I mean,
Yeah, I keep thinking reclaiming my woke, right? Like I want to
right?
reclaim it because, it just is such an impact. And I remember when, the shift was happening and I posted something on social media about being woke and my children said, "You can't do that anymore, Mom. Like that's going to be misinterpreted with my work and stuff." And I was so sad, and I'm still sad, and I'm so sad that people keep pushing against their own interests. And
Yeah. I mean, we talked about this before, but isn't that what this is all about? It's about power and control of other people and trying to get people to blame other people for their current situation.
right. And we were
You know?
talking about the whole M&M thing with the
Yeah.
marketing that people were saying it was too woke. And now Hershey has got beautiful video supporting women of all color and transgender women. And so now they're the ones that are you know, the ban is coming up from the people who are against woke. And but it's like it's capitalism in there too. I think Candy,
Right.
you had mentioned that. Like there's capitalism to this, and we can know that they're just using it. They're using the people that use this in the wrong way or whatever to go against it. They're using them as advertising tools now.
My uncle used to say, "There's no black, there's no white, there is green."
Mhm.
And that
Right.
this country, it's like if you have a minority representation, and you have people who have the lion's share of the wealth, the 1% or whatever,
Mhm.
they are going to do whatever they can to make sure that they stay in power and stay in control.
Mhm.
They really don't care. I mean, we talk about racism and things like that, and sexism and transgenderism, all of it. They really don't care about that. They
No.
care about staying monetarily in control. And
Right.
so
Right.
Right.
something like Hershey, who we were talking earlier about them having a history of their own their own dark
Right.
history of racism. But when a company like Hershey does something like this, it's kind of like an anti you know, they're doing it for corporate reasons. They're doing it for the money that it will make, but it also puts into the culture in the community
Right.
for non-discrimination, a support for equity, right? And so
Right.
Exactly.
like if I were someone who was part of the 1% and trying to stay in power, I wouldn't even know what to do with that.
Right. They're going crazy. That's
Right?
happening.
Because it threatens this idea that, you know, I get to stay wealthy and in control if I keep you. But then also there's something to be said for the crumbs that we get. So it's like, you know, I give you an ad campaign that says that we're accepting and that, you know, we're non-discriminate, even
Mhm.
though we have the history that we have. And
Right.
that's maybe like a crumb to throw to quiet the masses.
Right.
I mean, that's
Right.
more of a cynical view of it. But yeah, I think we benefit from, you know, when corporations even in their own interests actually you know,
Right.
present these campaigns that support equality.
Yeah. And I
Right.
mean, and
And we can capitalize off of it too.
Right.
and you know, in truth, you know, I look at this, I know when people try to make comparisons to different things, I just came into this awareness around what people who have been historically oppressed are saying is the systems that created the oppression and that continue to, you know, uh, continue to have the oppression be persist in any different ways, those need to come down.
Yeah.
That
Mhm.
is different than blaming a specific group of people
Right.
for something,
Yeah.
right? And
Mhm.
so, you know, I just want people to understand that there's a difference between all of this, especially if we're talking about being woke in terms of racial inequality
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
systematic stuff. So,
Right.
listen, we're going to take just a really hot, quick 30-second break, and we'll come back with more of This Morning with Soulivity.
6 years ago, when I started Soulivity, my vision was to support everyone in improving their life through the discovery of their passion and purpose, so they could become the best version of themselves, to battle fear and ignorance, and create a better world today. Get inspired to live your passion and purpose. Visit Soulivity.com now.
See, I told you that would be quick. We're back with more of This Morning. I'm joined by my beautiful co-hosts, Sheila Applegate and Candice Harper, and we're talking about being woke, but more about the journey of becoming continually aware of your life and your needs, wants, and desires, and moving your life forward. Um, we talk about a lot of times discussions about our nation are always put in just purely political terms or
Mhm.
social political terms. And I love the fact that both of you are talking about this from you're including that, but you're going to a higher level, because I think it always has to begin with us. What is our journey? What is our spiritual journey? How are we going within and tapping within to that sacred space? And so, which I believe is the journey of being woke, right? Again, it's not a destination, it's a journey. How can we cultivate this? How can we cultivate this in a way so that we can reclaim our being woke, as Sheila would say?
How can we cultivate this? I mean,
Yeah.
that's a great question, right? Because, when we ask a question like that, it opens up for so much possibility.
We love possibility.
We love possibility. I mean, I say for me, because my spiritual beliefs dictate that what we resist persists. Right. And when we focus on the disparities themselves, in an effort to suppress oppression, what we get is a doubling down, a multiplication of the disease cells of discrimination. Right. But I feel like when we put all of our dedication into being awake, creating solutions, and going beyond just identification of this is what it is, we put all of our dedication into what we are striving for, what we are advocating, what we are trying to create out of a problematic situation, actually reaching minds and hearts to be inspired to also wake up. Right? I wonder if it's more about fighting or focusing. Like, I feel like wickedness, that on the journey of awakeness, you start with awareness and identification, but then as you keep going on the journey, it becomes focusing on creation, focusing on what to put in place.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Sheila?
Oh, I'm with you. I think that, we have to expand our limiting understandings. And that comes from putting ourselves in new situations to looking beyond who we are as an individual and as a humanity right now, and to really return to that understanding of what human consciousness can include. And that is a connectedness to the energy of all of nature, of divine forces, or existence of energy, as we know in science, that everything is one energy expanding and creating itself. And when we see ourselves in that big picture, we do evolve as a consciousness, and the generations that come up after us, they are evolving and evolved, and it moves into a space where there's new possibilities for ideas and solutions. If we don't, it's like Einstein, if we don't get out of the problem, we're not going and open ourselves to more possibilities, we can't experience solutions.
I love what you guys both are tapping into here. In spirituality and science kind of meld, where I'm remembering the law of that two things cannot occupy the same space at the same time. And so, Candice, when you were talking about, if we're focusing only on what's not working, or we're focusing on the problem and saying, look at this problem, look at this problem, look at this problem, then, Sheila, to your point, there can be nothing else. There can be no other solution, no other opportunity, which in part is why people are misusing the term. That's what they want you to do. They want you to only focus on what's wrong, right? Even if what they're saying is a misnomer, or is a misunderstanding, or is politically motivated, that's what they want you to focus on for their own selfish gain. And that what we have to do is, and I'll phrase this a different way, is we don't fight. Fighting is reactionary. We battle. Battle is always about seeing the victory before you start the battle. You're moving and you're journeying toward a end state with the consciousness of victory, of success, of solutions, of the world of possibilities and opportunities that exist for you. And isn't that the kind of world we all want to live in the first doggone place?
Right.
Yeah. And I would even say, Brian, to build on what you're saying, because I'm such a like advocate of words. I feel like words have so much energy and power,
Yeah.
right? We create with word.
Yeah.
So like even, and I get where you're going with making the distinction between fighting and battling, but even for me with the word battling, I feel like there's this idea that if we are, and this is I don't, this might get me canceled, but I even struggle.
Not here. We opening up our arms for you, girl. You better say what you got to say.
Right? I even struggle with words like anti, like when I think of anti-racism, right?
Yeah.
Like
Right.
while I am against racism as far as a concept and a principle, it's like, again, what we resist persists. So the more we stay in that space of let's just focus on it, or sexism, it's like that willingness to say, I'm putting I think it was Mother Teresa who said that I am not anti anything. I am pro equality. I am pro love.
Absolutely.
I am pro solution, right? And what happened with the war on drugs? What happens with the war on cancer? It doesn't work. Things just get worse, right?
No.
So I think we want to be conscious of that as we're on our journey of awakeness as well. It's like if we're constantly in the fight, in the battle, what we're doing is feeding the wolf, feeding the dark energy, rather than feeding the light energy, which may sound Pollyanna for some people, but I'm Pollyanna.
But I think Candice, you're tapping into something where I think that certain people don't want us as a society, even globally, to believe that there can be a world where it is Pollyanna, where we are creating solutions for each other, where it's like the Star Trek kind of thing, where we end hunger and we end war and we end all that stuff because we've moved beyond it, right? We've allowed ourselves to evolve and to move beyond it. And I think that's important. And I think that that's kind of like what we're talking about. Like, listen, there's another way for us to live. There's another way for us to grow, and that's becoming aware and allowing ourselves to get there.
Yeah.
And listen, we're going to take another quick break. We're going to come back with some final thoughts. This was a great conversation. But I do want to do a shout out to Tucker, who was who spoke to us at the last,
because he woke up.
Yeah, because he woke up.
I think he got wrangled in.
we are a pet-friendly show here, so you might hear dogs and cats and birds and all kinds of stuff at any given moment. But we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with more of This Morning with Soulivity.
Have you ever asked the question, if I was to be anything, what would I be? Regardless of money, regardless of status, beyond popularity and fame. Living your passion, feeling your life has purpose. Soulivity is a space to nurture that which lives in all of us. A place where work can become play, and doing what we love creates the dreams of a lifetime.
Are you ready to take that first step towards true, unwavering inner happiness? Are you like thousands of people who have everything they need, not want, but need, and still can't seem to find happiness and fulfillment in their lives? If so, the Steps to Happiness show is for you. On my show, you will learn about the principles and practices that lead to true inner happiness. Because guess what? It isn't found in our external environment, but within ourselves instead. Together with my guests, we will explore the latest physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being practices. And together we'll advise you on the actionable steps you can take towards a happier, more fulfilled, authentic life. So I invite you to join me each week on Soulivity TV on the Steps to Happiness show with me, Teresa Greco.
And we're back with more of This Morning with Soulivity, and I'll go to Sheila with you for some final thoughts.
I'm thinking about the awakened process and the idea that when we awake as a humanity, when we see what is going on, no one can control us. And that is why the people in power are fearing this. And so, not to maybe blame the people, I think on social media, we have the group of people that are being manipulated to misuse the word woke and fight against their own best interest, and to look beyond that to those who are doing the manipulation and put our attention at maybe evolving them.
Thank you for that. Candice?
Yeah, I think it's just important to understand that unconsciousness has you under control. So, I believe overall, just in general in life, it's important to want to be a learner, a grower, someone who explores. And so we want to be conscious of just accepting what we're told, especially for young people in particular. I don't know that that's our demographic, but it doesn't matter how old you get. It's always being in that state of questioning why something is what it is, rather than being so quick to jump up on the hill you're going to die on.
Right.
And because someone, looks like you, or, they're telling you all the things you want to hear, that they're doing it for reasons that are in your interests. And I think, that's why people are such devotees of Trump, because he says things that a certain demographic want to hear. And if you're not willing to question that and wake up to what else could there be, then it's very easy for, like Sheila said, someone else to control you.
I'm always I'm always reminded of things my father and my grandfather have taught to me as a young boy, which are now so even more relevant. And one of those things that relates to what both of you are saying is being a lifelong learner, and always be curious. Be as that of a little baby, of a little child, where you are looking at your world from a sense of awe and wonder.
Yeah.
That alone will always support you in seeing, number one, seeing what's real, seeing beyond an agenda or beyond control or whatever it is, because you're going to want to know as much as you can about whatever this is. And so I would say to people, on your journey of expansion and awareness, go within, but also learn about other people and what their histories are, because that can only help empower you as well. Because we as society need to create a new world. We need to be in a better world, and that you can't get there if we're all, kind of like doing our own individual things and thinking that only our individual lives matter. That listen, we're all in this together, regardless of whether we believe it or not.
It's true. And we
It's
can't just
really
be
true.
focused on our soul survival and think that we're going to survive.
Absolutely.
We're a race.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So again, thank you, ladies. Look at
Thank
y'all.
you.
I think we'll do this again next week.
Yeah, let's do that.
I'm all for it.
Listen, while we've got some time, you guys are always offering great, new experiences and opportunities to grow. Candice, what's going on with in your life and what you're doing?
Yeah, so as always, I do have my coaching program, Love Life Skills for Leaders, for anyone who's interested in that. But what's most important right now that's in the forefront is my project, my compilation book for BIPOC plus women to write their stories of home. It's
Right.
called It's Homie Yostasis. And it's a big
I
project
love
that I'm
it.
putting together, right? I'm inviting people to come and submit stories to see if you could possibly get included in the project. Any proceeds from the project are going to go to preventing homelessness for BIPOC plus women, LGBTQA plus young people. And yeah, it's a great project. So
Great.
bit.ly/the home project 2023 is the way to,
Perfect.
yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll put that in the chat for sure.
Yeah.
Sheila, you've got something cool coming up.
Yes, on March 8th, I will be doing the Matrix of Illumination on Soulivity, Aspire Academy. So if you want to be illuminated, join me there. And then I also have Soul Connection sessions, which will help you to connect to your higher consciousness and see things in a new way. So I have a discount for Soulivity. And if you would like to do a session, you can use the code that Brian has just posted.
Excellent. Well, again, this is a great show. I'm almost like sad that it's almost over. Listen, everybody, this is how we do it here, right? We're taking on different things that normally people don't really talk about. I mean, you may hear it every once in a while, and then it goes away. We're not going to do that here. We're going to make sure that we're, talking about these special projects and special services, and also just thoughts and chats about having real conversations that empower. So come back, join us every weekday at soulivity.com for This Morning with Soulivity, or at KMET for our reruns and that kind of thing. Also, everything that we're talking about is available in podcast form. So you're able to go to our main site and check that out as well. So on behalf of everybody, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time. Bye.
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 This work is subject to copyright owned by Affinity Global LLC. Any reproduction or republication of all or part of this is expressly prohibited unless Affinity Global LLC has explicitly granted its prior written consent. All other rights reserved.